Imagine awakening in a realm where the rustling leaves call out your name, the river sings age-old melodies as it flows, and the breeze carries the stories of your ancestors. This isn't mere fantasy. It represents a tangible worldview embraced by millions throughout history and still today. It's termed animism, likely the oldest belief system known to humanity. Long before the establishment of temples, the naming of gods, and even prior to inscribing the first words on stone, there existed the belief that everything surrounding you is animated. The world is not a lifeless stage for human endeavors, but a vibrant entity filled with spirit and significance. Animism transcends religion. It's a perspective. It allows one to perceive the universe as teeming with souls. Trees, rocks, storms, animals, mountains, and even celestial bodies like the sun and moon possess spirit, intention, and character. For an animist, the world is not merely a resource, it embodies a relationship. This fundamental shift in perspective transforms everything. A mountain isn't simply conquered, it is honored. A hunt isn't merely a game, it is a conversation. Fire isn't something to be controlled, it is engaged with through negotiation. This belief system is so ancient, so ingrained in the early memories of our species, that it might actually represent the default spirituality of humanity, the one that preceded all others. But why did our ancestors perceive the world as vibrant and alive? Were they mistaken, or did they possess insight that we've lost? In this video, we will unravel the fascinating history of animism from its inception. From the flickering flames of Paleolithic tribes to the sacred practices of today's shamans, we'll traverse continents, delve into myths, and explore the essence of the natural world. We'll unveil how this seemingly primitive belief has subtly influenced the globe's greatest religions and how its reverberations guide us still. You'll encounter cultures that converse with rivers, wed trees, and offer songs to stones and gifts to lightning. You'll discover myths wherein forests exhale and animals share profound wisdom. And above all, you'll start perceiving your surroundings in a new light. No longer as silent and lifeless, but as vibrant, observant, and rich with narrative. So let's immerse ourselves in the most ancient, most beautiful, and often misinterpreted belief system in human history. This journey doesn't solely focus on age-old practices. It revolves around re-establishing a connection with something we've always known. That we are never alone. That our world is alive. To truly grasp the origins of animism, we need to travel back tens of thousands of years to the Paleolithic age, before urban settlements, writing, or even the idea of religion as we comprehend it today. Picture our early ancestors gathered around a fire, gazing up at a night sky filled with stars they could not name, enveloped by forests alive with unfamiliar sounds. In that raw and enigmatic world, everything possessed life. Not merely in a figurative sense, but in the truest sense. The wind was a spirit. The sun was a living eye. Animals were more than just food. They were messengers. Existence in that reality meant being immersed in significance, agency, and presence. Animism likely arose not as a formal belief system, but as a primal reaction to awe and the need to survive. In the absence of scientific explanations or philosophical constructs, the world manifests itself through feeling. A creaking tree in the darkness was not random physics, but a voice. A sudden storm was not merely weather, but a surge of emotion, power, or a warning. Every shadow could embody a presence. Every sound could be interpreted as a sign. Early humans didn't merely observe the natural world, they communicated with it. And nature, they believed, responded in kind. This perspective wasn't naive, it was profoundly adaptive. By attributing spirit to natural forces, early humans forged relationships with their surroundings, fostering respect, caution, and gratitude. Disrespecting the river could result in drought. Honoring the prey you hunted was essential to ensure the ongoing cycle of life. These weren't trivial customs. They represented survival strategies woven into myth, ritual, and storytelling. Evidence for this belief system can be found in the earliest forms of art. The cave artworks in Lascaux and Chauvet, revealing elegant depictions of bison, horses, and deer, were not simply for decoration. They held sacred significance. To portray a creature was to summon its essence. The surfaces of those caves functioned as altars rather than galleries. This was not artistry intended for human spectators. It was a means to connect with the spirit world of animals. The creative act of painting was a ritual in itself, a quiet prayer, a moment of communion. From this divine connection emerged the shaman, an individual capable of traversing the divide between the seen and the unseen. The shaman was not a cleric of any doctrine, but rather a voyager between different realms, utilizing trance, rhythm, and visions to commune with spirits. These early spiritual guides existed in nearly every ancient culture, spanning from Arctic tundras to tropical jungles, each interpreting the language of the unseen while providing healing, wisdom, and protection. They were not instated by institutions, rather, they were selected by the spirits through dreams and through suffering. The initiation of a shaman frequently arose from illness or trauma, a rift that compelled them to transcend the ordinary. It is vital to recognize that early animism was not irrational. It possessed a deep logical framework, both symbolically and emotionally. In a world filled with chaos and peril, the concept of spirit brought clarity. It allowed early humans to feel that they were not powerless, that they could negotiate with their environment and establish balance. Animism imbued significance to death, illness, the enigmatic, and the beautiful. It wove humans into the tapestry of existence, not as conquerors, but as kin. What we observe in these ancient traditions is not merely the inception of religion, but the awakening of consciousness. The understanding that life is a shared experience, agency is collective, and spirit is not limited to the physical. The emergence of belief was not a leap toward the heavens, it was a grounding into the soil, the waters, and the fire. Animism represented a perspective that was anything but a primitive superstition. It was the initial exchange between humanity and existence, a subtle conversation shared by our forebears and the environment they navigated. If you tune in attentively, you can still catch the lingering sounds. At the core of animism lies a transformative concept. It is so essential, so quietly impactful, that it alters your perspective on everything surrounding you. It is the conviction that every entity has spirit. This applies not only to living beings, but to all things. The wind carries intention. The mountain retains memory. The river is more than just water traversing through the land. It embodies a being with its unique essence, emotions, and aspirations. For the animist, inanimate objects are a myth. There is no concept of lifeless matter. The world is populated by persons rather than mere things. Some may be human, but most are not. This notion of spirit transcends the idea of a ghost or a supernatural being lurking in the shadows. It delves much deeper. In animism, spirit represents the essence of presence, the awareness and agency that exist within every facet of the natural world. A rock may not verbalize its thoughts, yet it carries a narrative. A forest may not roam, but it breathes, it attunes itself, and it retains memories. In numerous animist societies, this essence is referred to as a life force, a vital energy that invigorates and binds all things together. It goes by various names across different cultures: mana, chi, or rayenda, prana. Yet the underlying principle remains constant. Life is ubiquitous and all life is interconnected. Animism does not separate the world into sacred and mundane, natural and supernatural. There is no ranking of spirit. A snake and a storm can hold just as much spiritual significance as a human or a deity. This fundamentally levels the spiritual hierarchy, implying that wisdom can originate from anywhere. It suggests that the sacred can be uncovered not only in temples, but within puddles, on mossy grounds, and through the gaze of a deer. It conveys that the world is imbued with meaning, not merely because we impose it, but because it inherently exists, waiting to be acknowledged. In animistic thought, the soul is not a fixed entity confined within a body. It's ever-changing. Some cultures perceive that each individual possesses several souls, one that remains, another that journeys through dreams, and one that connects with ancestors. Others hold the belief that both humans and animals can share aspects of their soul. In numerous traditions, an individual's spirit is intricately linked to their surroundings. A river spirit might offer protection for one's well-being, while the essence of a hunted creature could return in a different form, watching over them. This shifting relational framework of the soul dissolves the barriers between self and others, between humans and animals, between body and earth. The logic of animism is more instinctive than it is analytical. It doesn't depend on strict doctrines, but emerges from observation, personal experience, and interconnectedness. If you regard a tree as possessing spirit, and that alters your way of life, then that tree has spirit. If you feel that the wind carries a warning and your intuition proves accurate, then the wind has communicated. Within this perspective, truth is not solely external. It is lived, experienced, and shared through ritual, narrative, and symbols. This belief system is remarkably resilient because it adjusts to its environment. Animism in the Arctic varies distinctly from animism in the rainforest. The spirits embody the land, the climate, the creatures, and the cycles of life. Nonetheless, the core remains constant. The world is filled with beings, not mere objects. Every being merits attention, respect, and connection. To embrace animism means to engage in continuous dialogue. It involves approaching the world not as a machine to decipher, but as a community to connect with. It is a life of humility, recognizing that you are never alone. Everything in your vicinity perceives, listens, and reacts. Through this intricate web of connections, meaning is conceived, not forced by humanity, but uncovered in collaboration with the living world. Animism is not a singular belief tied to one culture or region. It is a global phenomenon, a worldview that has spontaneously arisen in diverse societies around the globe. From arid deserts to lush jungles, from cold tundras to elevated highlands, the belief in a pervading spirit within the world is as ancient as humanity itself. What stands out is not merely the multitude of cultures that have embraced animism, but the distinctive ways each has molded it, mirroring the landscapes, wildlife, and ancestral narratives that have shaped their existence. In Africa, animism is intricately interwoven into the daily fabric of life. Throughout the continent's extensive and diverse territories, numerous indigenous belief systems resonate with the fundamental animistic idea that every entity carries a spirit. For the Yoruba people of West Africa, the Orisha are not aloof deities. They are spiritual forces that inhabit elements like rivers, lightning, iron, and trees. Their rituals involve connecting with these forces through movement, music, and divination. In the Congo, the Bongo community perceives life and death as an ongoing cycle led by ancestors who coexist with the living. They regard the land as vibrant. To disrupt it disrespectfully invites chaos and misfortune. Many African cultures safeguard sacred groves as protected areas where humans can enter only with explicit consent, for those spaces house the spirits of trees and animals that must be revered as family. As we move eastward into Asia, animism manifests in a captivating array of expressions. In Shinto, Japan's indigenous belief system, kami, or spiritual essences, reside in elements like rocks, waterfalls, trees, and even crafted objects. Shrines are scattered across the nation, not constructed to honor distant gods, but to pay tribute to nearby spirits. Frequently, they are dedicated to specific trees or mountains that possess names and personalities. Bowing at a shrine transcends mere ritual. It serves as a greeting, an acknowledgement of presence. In Siberia, the Ini, a community of reindeer herders, perceive the world as inhabited by spirits, some beneficial, others malevolent. Shamans don intricate outfits and beat drums to traverse spirit realms in search of guidance from animal guardians and nature spirits. Further south in Southeast Asia, animism intertwines with the philosophies of Buddhism and Hinduism. In Bali, daily offerings of flowers, incense, and rice are placed at crossroads, beneath trees, and in homes, not solely for deities, but also for the myriad spirits that coexist with humans. Throughout the Americas, indigenous animistic traditions are foundational to the spiritual practices of numerous tribes. For the Lakota Sioux of North America, Wakantanka, the Great Mystery, embodies not only a creator, but also the entire spiritual web of existence. Every element, from eagles to stones, is woven into this sacred network. Rituals such as the Sweat Lodge or Vision Quest transcend mere symbolism. They are authentic interactions with the spirit realm, performed with deep respect and intention. In the Amazon, tribes like the Shipibo-Conibo perceive the rainforest as a sophisticated living entity teeming with plant spirits, animal companions, and ancestral presences. The hallucinogenic brew ayasa is consumed not for escape, but to enhance one's connection with the consciousness of the jungle. Even in contemporary urban areas, many Native American and First Nations individuals persist in their animistic practices, engaging in rituals like sage smudging, dream interpretation, and seasonal ceremonies that honor the land. In Australia, Aboriginal peoples maintain one of the planet's oldest continuous animistic traditions. Their belief system, often referred to as the dreaming or dream time, serves as a rich spiritual framework explaining the world's creation and its enduring sacred essence. According to this belief, ancestral beings shaped the landscape, sang rivers into being, danced mountains into existence, and left traces of themselves in the earth. Each rock formation, tree, and waterhole carries a narrative, not a mere story, but a fundamental spiritual truth. These songlines, invisible roots that connect sacred sites, are traversed and sung by elders who preserve the memory of the land's spirit. The relationship between people and their environment is so intertwined that forgetting a story or disregarding a ritual can harm both the soul and the land. Even Europe, often linked to monotheistic traditions in the present day, has profound connections to animistic principles. In the ancient Celtic beliefs of Ireland and Scotland, rivers were revered as goddesses, groves were considered sacred, and animals served as intermediaries between different realms. Druids functioned as spiritual intermediaries, and the changing seasons were celebrated through festivals aligned with the Earth's natural rhythms. Monuments like Stonehenge were not mere structures, they were entities aligned with cosmic patterns. Similarly, Norse mythology stands on animistic pillars, with the world tree Yggdrasil binding all realms of existence together. Spirits dwell in waterways, forests, and even in tools and weapons. In Slavic traditions, domovoi are spirits that watch over households, while the forests are governed by leshi, the wild guardians of trees. These beliefs didn't disappear with the advent of Christianity. Instead, they often blended, taking on new forms within folklore, fairy tales, and local traditions. Throughout these varied cultures, animism does more than portray the world, it sustains it. It establishes a paradigm where humans are not the dominant force, but rather active participants in a vast, interconnected tapestry. Whether it's through the chants of a Balan priest, the rhythmic drumming of a Siberian shaman, the prayers of indigenous elders, or the stories shared by Aboriginal leaders, a shared truth resonates. The world is vibrant. Every location possesses a spirit. Every entity plays a part. It is humanity's responsibility not to dominate this realm, but to listen, honor, and safeguard it. What's truly remarkable is how this ancient worldview continues to flourish, adapt, and rise again in modern movements. Many contemporary individuals, often detached from nature, are reclaiming animistic perspectives through environmentalism, plant healing practices, and a growing awareness that the earth is not merely a machine, but a sentient being. Across various continents, animism is not a relic of the past. It represents a dynamic, living approach that is as diverse as the winds and as timeless as the soil we tread. Animism is far more than a belief. It represents a lifestyle that takes shape in countless concrete manifestations around the globe. These practices are rich with meaning, serving as continuous dialogues with a universe imbued with spirit. They foster the maintenance of relationships, equilibrium, and reverence towards the unseen energies enveloping them. Every action, every utterance, every heartbeat of a drum carries significance. Animistic ceremonies focus on fostering connections rather than exercising control. One of the most recognizable icons of animistic tradition is the totem. Totems go beyond simple carvings or signs. They embody representations of spiritual kinship. Among various indigenous communities, especially those in North America and Australia, totems function as protectors, ancestors, and mentors. A clan may choose a bear, eagle, or wolf as their totem, not merely for symbolism, but as a spiritual relative. The traits of that animal are thought to influence the identity and fate of the group. Children hear the stories of their totem animal, passed down through the ages, allowing them to understand their heritage, their role in the universe, and the obligations that accompany it. To disrespect one's totem is to dishonor one's lineage and spiritual connection. Shamanism stands out as perhaps the most renowned animistic practice found in cultures from Siberia to the Amazon, from Mongolia to the Arctic regions. A shaman differs from a priest in the traditional sense. They serve as mediators, healers, and voyagers between realms through drumming, chanting, dancing, fasting, or consuming sacred plants. Shamans enter trance states where they commune with the spirits of animals, ancestors, and the natural world. They return with insights, healing, or warnings. Shamans might summon spirit allies, shapeshift within their dreams, or retrieve lost soul fragments to restore balance for individuals or communities. Their instruments, such as feathers, bones, drums, and masks, are more than mere decorations. Each serves as a conduit of spirit, an extension of their connection to the spirit world. Offerings hold a central role in animistic existence. They might appear modest, such as a bowl of rice placed by a river, a blossom set at the base of a tree, or the soft curl of smoke rising from burning herbs. These acts aren't bribes, exchanges, or negotiations. Instead, they signify respect, gratitude, and acknowledgement. In Bali, daily offerings are made not solely to deities, but also to household spirits, roadside entities, and even playful beings that could cause mischief if overlooked. Across Africa and the Caribbean, ritualistic libations of water or alcohol are poured onto the earth to pay homage to ancestors. These gestures serve as reminders for both spirits and humans of their shared obligations. To give is to recognize a connection. To neglect this responsibility invites imbalance. Storytelling is yet another vital tradition, perhaps the most revered. Within animistic cultures, narratives are not merely for amusement. They act as maps. They encapsulate the laws of the land, the legacies of ancestors, and the moral lessons that can be drawn from the actions of animals and spirits. A tale about a cunning fox or a wise turtle transcends the realm of fables. It functions as a guide for navigating existence, helping individuals understand their place in the grand scheme. Elders carefully pass down these narratives through oral tradition. They are not simply recounted, they are performed, cherished, and lived through. When a story fades from memory, it is believed that a fragment of the world's spirit diminishes alongside it. Perhaps the most profound and emotionally resonant aspect of animistic practice is the veneration of ancestors. For an animist, death does not sever ties. Ancestors are not lost, they merely undergo transformation. They reside in the earth, in dreams, in the whispers of the wind. They are sought for guidance, protection, and support. Homes may feature altars dedicated to ancestors, and grave sites might be revisited regularly with offerings of food, music, or prayers. In some traditions, ancestors are viewed as integral players in the shaping of present life. When a child is born, it is said to embody the spirit of a grandparent. This intergenerational connection ensures that no one is truly isolated. You are always entwined in a broader continuum, and your life serves as a thread in an eternal tapestry. Together, these rituals, totems, shamanic journeys, offerings, narratives, and honor for ancestors encompass the essence of animistic societies. They are intertwined with everyday life. They embody life itself. Through these practices, harmony is maintained in the world. The community remains united, and the invisible links weaving everything together stay robust and lively. These are not remnants of history. They are vibrant practices of the present, alive, evolving, and still resonating with those attuned enough to hear. When juxtaposed with the monumental establishments of organized religions, animism may appear subdued or even overlooked. There are no golden temples, no sacred texts hewn in stone, nor a singular founder or standardized doctrine. Yet, animism precedes them all. It serves as the spiritual root system from which numerous world religions have inadvertently emerged, a deep, ancient current of belief that flows quietly beneath human culture. However, as societies advanced and formal religions became structured, the animistic perspective was not obliterated. Rather, it was assimilated, altered, and at times intentionally sidelined. What distinguishes animism from dominant religions like Christianity, Islam, or even Hinduism is its fundamentally decentralized essence. In animism, there are no hierarchies of sanctity. Spirit is not confined to a far-off paradise or monopolized by a religious elite. It permeates all, in the leaf, the stone, the riverbank, and the breath of a fading creature. There's no need for a sacred text to authenticate these realities. The forest itself is the scripture. The wind conveys the teachings. Spiritual authority is based on lived experience, not rigid doctrine. In contrast, organized faiths frequently characterize the divine as distinct, transcendent, and detached. For example, in Christianity, God is frequently depicted as existing beyond creation, the creator but not the creation itself. Consequently, the natural world is perceived as crafted by God, yet not inherently sacred. This perspective engenders a duality, spirit versus matter, the sacred versus the mundane. In Islam, the universe is perceived as an expression of Allah's intentions, radiant and significant. However, Allah himself transcends the physical realm. These faiths typically focus their worship on designated locations, sacred texts, and specific rituals that stand apart from daily life. While they offer profound moral frameworks, cosmological insights, and a sense of purpose, they do so by establishing a division between humanity and the broader cosmos. Hinduism, despite sharing similarities with animistic concepts, still structures its spirituality through intricate hierarchies of deities, caste systems, and scriptures. Nonetheless, it reflects remnants of animism in its veneration for rivers, animals, and mountains. The Ganges isn't merely a river, it is revered as a goddess. Cows aren't just livestock, they are held as maternal figures. This spiritual appreciation for the natural environment hints at Hinduism's ancient origins, rooted in animistic tribal beliefs. Over the years, these concepts have been integrated into a comprehensive religious framework, enriched with metaphysical ideas, rituals, and holy texts such as the Vedas and Upanishads. The primary distinction lies in how each belief system engages with authority and space. Major religions frequently concentrate spiritual power through prophets, written works, and institutional frameworks. In contrast, animism disperses that power. It places spiritual authority in the hands of the listener, the dreamer, and those who can perceive the vibrant life in the mundane. Whereas organized religions might pursue truth via divine revelation, animism seeks it through connection. Where one might construct temples to honor the divine, the other opts to sit beside a stone and attune to its essence. Despite these contrasts, animism has profoundly shaped the world's faiths, particularly in their formative stages. The Old Testament contains traces of animistic thought, burning bushes that communicate, rivers that split, stones that proclaim. Saints and angels often take on roles akin to spirit intermediaries. In rural Christianity, animistic customs persist quietly, with practices such as holy wells, sacred groves, and local spirits being acknowledged, even in defiance of doctrinal opposition. In Buddhism, especially within Tibetan and Southeast Asian practices, there remains a reverence for local spirits known as nagas, yakshas, or land guardians, which are seamlessly integrated into Buddhist cosmology, thereby keeping the essence of animism alive under a different banner. Where organized religions often construct belief systems and doctrines, animism fosters a closeness to the world. It does not demand adherence to dogma, rather, it calls for an awareness of the environment. Animism does not aim to convert individuals, but seeks to foster connections. There are no transgressors, only those who have lost sight of their bond with the living realm. Redemption isn't found through faith in a distant paradise, but through restoring harmony with the spirits that exist in the present. Ultimately, animism and structured religions are not adversaries. They represent varying responses to the shared human desire for belonging, understanding, and the experience of something transcendent. One gazes upward towards the heavens, while the other attunes to the earth beneath. Each, in its own distinct way, strives to reach out for the sacred. If animism serves as the spiritual perspective through which individuals perceive a living world, then mythology acts as its lyrical expression, a rich symbolic dialogue through which these spirits convey their messages. Myths in animistic societies are not mere fables or allegories. They represent spiritual truths woven into narrative form. They act as vivid memories of a reality where trees share secrets, rivers convey prophecies, and animals traverse different realms as guides and protectors. These myths go beyond mere entertainment. They instruct, initiate, and sustain the sacred connection between humanity and the larger-than-human world. In numerous animistic beliefs, trees are held in high esteem, regarded not only as sources of life, but also as sentient beings endowed with wisdom that surpasses human knowledge. In Celtic lore, the oak is revered as a sacred entity, a passageway between different worlds, frequently associated with fortitude, stability, and divine energy. The Druids believed groves to be natural sanctuaries, with particular trees inhabited by spirits that could either bless or curse. In Japanese Shinto, colossal trees, frequently adorned with a sacred cord known as shimanawa, serve as abodes for kami, spiritual entities that can provide safeguarding or require offerings. These trees are not mere symbols of deities, they embody gods themselves, their essence intricately integrated into the everyday lives of individuals who walk beneath their boughs. Similarly, rivers play prominent roles in animistic folklore, traversing both landscapes and time. They are regarded as living, breathing divine beings. For instance, in India, the Ganges is not simply a source of water. She is Ganga, a goddess who has descended from the heavens to purify sins and convey prayers. Her waters are regarded as sacred, and her temperament, ranging from gentle streams to devastating floods, is interpreted as manifestations of her will. Within African animism, rivers often harbor potent spirits, such as Mamiwata, a multifaceted water goddess esteemed in West and Central Africa, as well as the Caribbean. She is both enchanting and perilous, capable of granting prosperity or causing peril to those who show her disrespect. These river spirits require rituals, songs, and offerings. They don't merely traverse the land, they shape destinies. The sky, in numerous animistic narratives, transcends being just an expanse of air and stars. It is a domain alive with sentient forces. In Inuit lore, the aurora borealis is perceived as the spirits of ancestors dancing across the sky. Ancient Polynesian traditions regarded the stars as navigators, not lifeless markers, but aware entities aiding sailors on the ocean. Thunder and lightning often take on human-like qualities. In Yoruba cosmology, Shango, the god of thunder, is not merely a far-off celestial figure, but a present spirit summoned through rhythm and dance. Many Native American beliefs see the great thunderbird as a sky being of monumental power, whose wings unleash storms and whose presence signifies spiritual transformation. The sky envelops us, it interacts with us and observes us. Animals are revered in animistic tales. They are neither inferior beings nor mere resources. They are guides, ancestors, even creators. According to the myths of the Haida people from the Pacific Northwest, the raven embodies both trickery and creation, illuminating the world while continually oscillating between assisting and challenging humanity. In the Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime, the rainbow serpent serves as a dual force of creation and a water spirit, gliding through the terrain, forming rivers and sculpting hills. This serpent inspires reverence rather than fear, celebrated in songs and dances for its integral role in the world's formation. Many animistic tales feature shapeshifters, spirits or beings capable of assuming animal or hybrid forms, allowing them to traverse both human and spiritual domains. In Siberia, the reindeer is more than just a hunted creature. It acts as a vessel for the soul, a revered being that can transport shamans through the dream landscape. In Andean cultures, the condor and puma transcend their identity as mere animals. They are cosmic forces that symbolize various planes of existence, honored in Incan rituals and still valued in indigenous beliefs today. The thread connecting these narratives is the animistic principle that spirit is not confined to a singular form. It flows through tree and storm, through feather and tooth. Myths offer a framework for individuals to comprehend the unseen forces that influence their surroundings. They instruct people on how to interact, not only with one another, but also with the land, animals, weather, and spirits inhabiting their spaces. A tale about a river spirit that punishes greed is more than just a story. It's a reminder to respect the water and to take only what is necessary. A narrative featuring a talking animal isn't mere fantasy. It reflects a cultural memory from a time when interaction with nature was simply part of life. These traditions are still very much alive. Across the globe, many individuals continue to leave offerings at sacred springs, murmur to the trees, and interpret the sighting of a fox as a message, a clear indication of significance, not merely chance. Animistic mythology endures not through mere preservation in literature, but through active practice, lived experiences, storytelling, and deep-seated belief. It evolves alongside humanity, adjusting to fresh environments, dialects, and experiences, yet it perpetually conveys the same core message: the world is not static. It is aware, it listens. Within the intricate fabric of human mythology, animism presents the most ancient threads, vibrant, primal, and intimately linked to the earth. These narratives remind us that our forebears did not perceive themselves as separate from nature. Instead, they felt they existed within it, enveloped by voices, observed by eyes, and guided by stories that predate time itself. Many perceive animism as an artifact, an outdated worldview preserved in bygone eras, cast away under layers of civilization and science. Yet animism is not obsolete. In fact, it is currently undertaking a significant revival. Across the globe, individuals are reconnecting with the foundations of a world they instinctively sense is alive. Through New Age spirituality, the growth of ecological awareness, and the revival of indigenous insights, animism is resurfacing, not as a forgotten tradition, but as a dynamic language that resonates with the essence of a planet in turmoil. In the realm of contemporary spirituality, animistic concepts permeate modern practices. Crystal healing, energy cleansing, astrology, and herbal medicine all thrive on animistic foundations. The conviction that objects and elements possess distinct energies, personalities, and wisdom is at the core. People discuss the vibrations of stones, the spirit within plants, and the messages concealed in dreams. While these notions may seem contemporary at first glance, their origins are deeply rooted in ancient animistic frameworks. When someone purifies their space with sage or talks about the spirit of the moon influencing feelings, they are engaging, whether knowingly or not, in a form of neo-animism, blending traditional beliefs with fresh perspectives. It is a movement guided not by rigid doctrines, but by personal experience and intuition, often highlighting a direct connection with the natural world over structured rituals. Environmentalism has also emerged as a new platform for animistic thought. In a world that faces the growing threat of ecological collapse, individuals are increasingly seeking out spiritual systems that highlight interconnectedness, reverence, and respect for our planet. Animism presents a fundamentally different ethic compared to the industrial, mechanistic perspective that regards the earth merely as a resource for exploitation. It encourages us to view nature not as property, but as family. Forests are not merely ecosystems, they are communities of living beings. Rivers are not just channels for transit, they embody our ancestors. This transformation is more than a matter of philosophy. It holds political significance and requires urgent attention. Climate justice movements often resonate with animistic values when they advocate for the rights of nature, establishing legal frameworks that acknowledge rivers, mountains, and forests as living entities with legal rights. For example, in New Zealand, the Wanganui River has been granted legal personhood, an achievement made possible through the advocacy of the Maori people, whose spiritual connection to the river informed their legal efforts. These shifts reflect a worldwide yearning to mend humanity's fractured relationship with the Earth, moving toward a reality that recognizes the vibrancy of the world around us. Perhaps one of the most profound manifestations of contemporary animism is seen in the revival of indigenous traditions. For centuries, colonization and forced religious conversion sought to eradicate animistic beliefs, dismissing them as primitive or even malevolent. Sacred lands were appropriated, rituals were prohibited, and ancestral narratives were muted. Yet today, from the Andes to the Arctic and across Aboriginal Australia to the African plains, indigenous communities are reclaiming their spiritual legacies. Emerging leaders are reinvigorating the songs, languages, ceremonies, and cosmologies that have sustained their cultures for thousands of years. For them, animism is not a mere trend. It represents their identity, heritage, and means of resistance. This resurgence is not solely about cultural affirmation, it is also a matter of survival. The insights found within animistic traditions could be essential in guiding humanity through the challenges of climate disruption and spiritual disconnection. Modern animism does not aim to replicate the past precisely as it existed. It acknowledges that our reality has changed. We inhabit a world characterized by urban landscapes, satellites, and digital connections. Nonetheless, animism evolves even within this context. A smartphone can receive respect. A public park may be regarded as a sanctuary for spirits. The sacred is not confined to the distant or untouched. It resides in any place where awareness is acknowledged. As individuals expand their perceptions and reinvigorate their lives, animism transforms into more than just a belief system. It becomes a practice of mindfulness, a readiness to perceive the world as anything but silent. Instead, it is vibrant and alive. In our fragmented society, the resurgence of animistic perspectives could represent one of the most restorative forces available to us. It reinstates wonder, it reconstructs connections, and it serves as a reminder that even amid an era dominated by concrete and technology, the spirit has continuously communicated. We simply cease to listen. Animism is frequently misinterpreted as a simplistic jumble of primitive beliefs aimed at elucidating the inexplicable. However, upon closer inspection, it unveils one of the most profound and poetic philosophical frameworks that humankind has ever developed. At its core, animism presents a vision of the cosmos that is relational, engaging, and deeply symbolic. It inquires not only about the mechanics of the world, but also about how we ought to exist within it. In the realm of animistic thought, every facet of reality is interconnected, and nothing exists in isolation. Life, death, and consciousness are not isolated events or properties. Rather, they are manifestations of the same living essence that courses through all entities. To the animist, life transcends mere biological criteria. A being need not possess blood or breath to be regarded as alive. A stone can exhibit presence. A river can convey emotion. A mountain can encapsulate memories. Life is defined not by function, but by connection. If something can engage in communication, if it can affect or respond, then it is alive. This insight dismantles the anthropocentric conception of consciousness. We are not the apex of awareness. Rather, we are part of an extensive network of sentience that encompasses trees, stars, clouds, and dreams. Silence itself can be regarded as a mode of communication, a meaningful pause, a wordless breath. In animism, death signifies not the conclusion of existence, but a metamorphosis. It represents an entryway, not a barrier. Upon passing, a person's spirit does not disappear, it simply transforms. It might return to the earth, reunite with ancestors, or take on another form, such as a bird, a tree, or a breeze. The soul is not confined to a physical body or a singular lifetime. It is fluid, cyclical, and everlasting. Unlike in materialist societies, death isn't viewed with fear. Instead, it is honored, mourned, and ritually acknowledged, but it is never regarded as total annihilation. Funerals serve not merely as farewells, but as a means to guide the spirit into its subsequent state of being, while sustaining the bond between the living and the deceased. Regarding consciousness, animism perceives it not as a fleeting spark limited to human minds, but as the very essence of the universe. Consciousness is not something we own. It is an expansive field that exists both within and around everything. The distinction between self and other is permeable. When you listen to a river or converse with a fire, you are engaging in a conscious exchange that reveals a deeper truth, that the world is aware, responsive, and vibrant. Viewing the world through an animistic perspective alters everything. The tree outside your window transforms from mere wood and leaves into a living presence. The wind shifts from simply being weather to a gentle whisper. The ground beneath your feet is not just dirt, it embodies a body, an elderly figure, a memory. Animism does not require belief in anything elusive or abstract. Instead, it encourages you to recognize what already exists around you. It is not a belief system that distances you from the world. Rather, it is a return, a rekindling of the understanding of how to coexist harmoniously with everything that surrounds you. Throughout the ages, we've erected monuments and temples, penned sacred texts, and delivered sermons in pursuit of the divine. Yet, animism reminds us that the sacred permeates not only the heavens, but also exists around us, below us, and within us. The call of a bird, the shadow cast by a drifting cloud, the comforting heat of firelight against our skin, all of these elements are more than mere aspects of nature. They are instances of connection with the spirit. In an era where everything seems splintered and empty, animism provides a sense of completeness. It teaches us that the universe is neither void nor random, but rich with stories, meanings, and companionship. This belief system, as timeless as the very first utterances of language, continues to guide individuals, not by offering all the answers, but by weaving everything together. It presents us with a path to tread lightly, converse thoughtfully, and listen intently. Within the animistic perspective, there's no concept of merely a tree, a rock, or an animal. There are no impersonal its. Instead, there are only thous. Everything holds a you status. We inhabit a world that frequently overlooks this truth, a world that hurries, consumes, and asserts dominance. Yet animism encourages us to slow down, to observe, and to engage in meaningful conversation. It doesn't seek compliance, it yearns for connection. It doesn't promise salvation in some distant realm. It unveils the sanctity of this world. And perhaps, just perhaps, in that realization lies not only the road to spiritual restoration, but also to the survival of our planet. So, the next time you hear the wind sifting through the leaves or lock eyes with a bird for just an instant, take a moment to pause. Reflect on the notion that something ancient and insightful is looking back at you, that the world is not devoid of sound. It's resonating, and it always has. If this journey resonated with you, stirred something profound within, or shifted your perception of the world, consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. The narrative doesn't conclude here, it's merely commencing all around us.